What's up guys, welcome back to the Python training presented by SECARMY. In the previous video we studied about setting up the environment of Python. In the previous video we learned how to set up the environment for the Python programming in different operating systems, and to be precise we studied about Windows operating system and Ubuntu operating system. The environment is useful because in that way we have all the procedures and all the functions set up so that when a person or a programmer develops a code, he is able to develop easily without any error. Today we'll move forward in the Python training and we'll start from variables. So what is a variable? Before telling the definition or meaning, let me show you a simple program where we just print a few words. Let's say I have to print a hello world. So I'll just start there. I'll open the text editor that I taught you to download in the previous video. Now, as you have seen, print hello world, I have already written it. You just have to write the same. Print function bracket start, double inverted comma, or even single inverted comma, it doesn't matter. Hello world, which is just a simple text, double inverted comma close, and print and function bracket close. Now when execute it, it says hello world. Now what does this even mean? This command is telling Python to execute a function or execute a statement and print it. The statement is hello world. How does this print? As we have written in command, the word print is a keyword which tells the Python that you have to print something. So there are a lot of keywords in Python programming language that have their own definition. So according to those definition, the statement is printed or executed. Now, as we have set this environment for Python, so when we save this file, we have to save it as an extension of .py. File save as, let's say hello.py. Sorry, I have to save it on desktop. Now save. Now when I go to desktop, there's a .py file called hello. What does this mean? .py means it is a Python file, so when I try to execute it, the Python environment tells the Python interpreter that it is a Python file and you have to execute it. And what do we have to execute? This statement, which is hello world. Now when I execute it again, it shows the same result. So I told you what this means. Now moving forward to variables. Variables are basically kind of combination or maybe a singular alphabet that stores a particular value. For example, we just printed this statement. Let's say we have to assign a variable, or I should say assign a value to a variable, or in other languages we have a particular value that we have to store somewhere temporarily so that we can print it easily. Now what would we do? We would pick up a particular alphabet or a combination of alphabets causing a word that we would store that value in. So why? So that let's say there are a lot of values and we have to print or maybe use different calculations functions on it again and again. So it is quite difficult to write the entire value, all the values again and again and again. So what will we do? We will just store that value in a particular alphabet or a variable so that we can just use that particular variable when we need to call that value. Let's say I want a variable a equal to is an operator that assigns the value. I'll tell you about different operators later. Now single equals to means the value is being assigned, where a is the variable. What do we have to assign? Let's say we have to assign the value hello world. Now hello world we have to print as string. I'll tell about string also a bit later. Let's say I have to assign hello world. Okay, so here it is. Now we have to print it. print function bracket start a function bracket close. Now when executed, it will print hello world, as you can see on the screen. So this is the way variable works. There are a few terms and conditions, or I should say precautions or rules, that you have to follow while deciding a particular variable. Let me show you. Variable names can contain only letters, numbers and underscores. They can start with a letter or an underscore, but cannot with a number. For instance, you can call a variable message _1 but not 1 underscore, because 1 is a number and you cannot start with a number. Let me show you. So there's a variable that I just told you, a. Now let's start with 1a. It should show an error. Let's see, does it? Yes. Sorry, we didn't change it in the print statement. See, there's an error. Why? Because 1 is a number or integer and a variable should not start with an integer. Now when I try to execute it, it shows an error. Same thing goes. Let's say I have to start with underscore 1. It should execute because it is allowed. Here it is executed because it is allowed. Now next rule. Spaces are not allowed in variable names, but underscore can be used to separate words in variable names. For example, greeting message works, but greeting message will cause error. Let's try it out. Let's say I have a variable full name. I'll enter my name here. Now there are different words. I have entered the variable with a space, which should not work. Let's try to print it. Execute. Here's an error, because let's say it did not work because we have a value that we needed to store in a variable, but here it is kind of two variables for a single value, whereas the Python allows a single value to be stored in two values but on different statements in different lines, whereas we are storing a single value in two different variables in the same line, which causes an error. So now when I enter an underscore here, it should execute it. Here you go. Here is my name that I executed in underscore and variable that contains two words. Now next. Avoid using Python keywords and functions named as variable names. That is, do not use words that Python has reserved for a particular programmatic purpose, such as the word print. As I said before, there are a lot of keywords that are reserved by Python that already exist in Python, which has their own meaning or functionality. For example, there's a keyword called print that tells Python to print a particular statement or a function or anything. So avoid using these words as variables. That for example, we have to print a particular name. I used variables full underscore name to print my name, but if I enter print here, will this work? I don't think so. Here's an error because this word is already, or I should say this keyword is already reserved in Python with its own definite function. So we should avoid using this name or keyword to use as variable. This causes error. There are a lot of keywords with their own definition. We should avoid using those as their own. Now let's move forward to the second last. Variable name should be short but descriptive. For example, name is better than N. Student underscore name is better than S or underscore N. And name underscore length is better than length of person's name. Now, doesn't matter how long your variable is or how short your variable is, as long as it is understandable and it is accessed easily or it can be used easily, everything goes. You can use variable whatever you want, but as long as it is understandable and can be understood by you or someone else who is reading your code, and as long as it is not a keyword that is reserved in Python programming language already, everything goes. You can use any variable or any combination of letters. And yeah, a variable should not start with an integer. Now, be careful when using the lowercase letter L and the uppercase letter O, because they could be confused with the number 1 and 0. I think this one is quite simple to understand, so I won't explain it. So let me just explain it. The lowercase L and uppercase O are quite similar by their appearance with the integers 1 and 0. So be careful while using that so you don't confuse it with another. Now, let's move forward to different types of data. This name that I printed is a string. So what is a string? A string is basically a combination of letters, or it could be unnumbered too. A string is basically a type of data that you have to print as it is. Now there are a lot of types of data: a string, integer, float, and yeah, that's it, I guess. So string, which is combination of letters, or I should say numbers, that are printed, that are needed to be printed as it is. An integer is a number without a decimal value. Let's say I have to print someone's age. Let's say the age is 25. I will give the variable age. Now when I print it, it should print 25. Here you go. It shows 25. So there are a few rules while executing string and stuff, that a string should always be in inverted commas. Either it is double inverted comma or single inverted comma, doesn't matter. An integer can be or cannot be inside inverted comma, it doesn't matter. So what is a float? Integer is basically numbers, while float is basically numbers but with a decimal value. So let's say age, according to integral value, the age is 25. Now when it comes to float, let's say 25.5. So this is a float with a particular decimal value. Now when I execute it, it says 25.5. So this is all about variables, and there's a lot of stuff that I'll be teaching in next video. So I'll be here only and you can ask anything. So before ending this particular video, I'll give you a task. Create a variable and store a value in it and print that value using print keyword. Now there's a second task. Now that you have created a variable and printed that value, the second task is to change that value of that particular existing variable and print the new value in the same program. So see you all in the next video, and if you have any kind of question, you can contact me through one of the methods, or either using Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn or WhatsApp. So see you all later. See ya.